Welcome inside Black and Gold, everybody. Steve Geller, Jeff Nowak, and we are now really in the dog days of summer. The NBA Finals are a wrap. College World Series has concluded. LSU baseball on top. But now those long weeks until we get ready for training camp. We know players reporting July 22nd, but that's basically a month away right now.
Yeah, we're officially at the point of the summer where I stopped trying to get my house under 76 degrees during the day. It's not possible. My air conditioning will explode before I can get my house down to like a comfortable temperature. So it's just to get used to sweating inside. And then like at night when the sun goes down, you can cool it down enough to sleep. But like it's a losing. I have two air conditioners. I have an air conditioner upstairs, air conditioner downstairs. And there is still no way because my house is so old, to keep it below a certain temperature. So if I start sweating during this, understand that it's because it's getting up toward 80 degrees in my house.
How did that thunder rock uptown? Because in Metri this morning, it was wicked.
I didn't hear it.
Oh, wow.
No,
we had some earth-shaking, house-shaking thunder this morning.
We'll get thunderstorms every... I planned to do something last Saturday because I was like, it's not going to rain 2 days early prior to that. And then it did rain anyway. But so it's July. And so a few things to keep in mind. One, I have a new background set up. So if you see this changing, keep that in mind. I'm collecting and I'm updating my cards here. You can tell, Mike Thomas is keeping watch over everything.
What happened to Peacemaker?
He's here.
Okay.
I just haven't found a spot for him yet. He didn't seem to fit the aesthetic. So I haven't. And then I also have a Frodo, which feels like it's best suited for a different collection. But yeah, I'll find a spot for him. But yeah, he didn't fit up there anymore. It didn't work.
A new season coming out. That's why I asked.
Yeah, I don't know. But we'll continue updating it. I think it's going to be kind of cool because I'll just be able to like swap them out for every live stream. Like if you see the same card behind me on any stream, it's because I forgot to change them around, because I think it's kind of cool to just be able to update them. Like you can see that little Tajay Spears over my shoulder. And so it's Saints players on the top, Louisiana players in the middle, and New Orleans players on the bottom shelf, which is what I'm going to spend the actual money on. But either way, that's, again, I promise not to talk about cards in every episode, but it's, a new look on the stream. So I did want to talk about it. Anyway, so we'll get to a few things. We're going to hit some notes here in the first segment. It's going to be a short one because the bulk of this episode is going to be kind of a new format that we've been talking about. It's going to be kind of a flash questions, lightning round, something like that, where we're going to throw a bunch of questions out into the universe and put a timer on and answer them within that time. The timer is going to be different every time. So like some of the questions are going to be 30 seconds, some are going to be a minute. But when the timer goes off, we move on. So you won't hear us getting long-winded about the same subject over and over again. We're going to try to get through a lot. And I think in the future, this is something where we could take submissions for and do it that way. Whereas this is the first one, we're just coming up with all of them ourselves, and we're not the most creative people in the world. So it will be what it is. But a couple things that happened this week, or happened technically on Friday, a few signings. So we had already talked on this podcast about Seth Green and Barry Wesley. They were signed out of the UFL. Those signings were made official on Friday. The Saints also signed Jaden Price, DB out of the UFL, former North Dakota State guy, actually was signed as a UDFA to the Falcons last year. He is now on the Saints, and the Saints have cut Xavier Valade, so I don't have to remember how to spell his name anymore, and I still can't. And Trey Fluellen, another guy with kind of a confusing name to spell. So my working theory is they just wanted to make the roster simpler to say out loud, so they cut the two most confusing names. It's the only theory I can work with, because they weren't the worst two players on the roster, in my opinion, but they were the most confusing names on the roster.
Yeah, out of the limited action we actually got to see during organized team activities in minicamp, I thought that Valade was kind of one of those standout guys that you had written a bunch of notes on and was like, all right, let's see what this dude can do come training camp.
I would argue that the two best plays of camp, one on offense, one on defense. On offense, it was a 30-yard catch on a wheel route by Xavier Valade. And on defense, it was a diving pass breakup indoors by Trey Fluellen. Like, I would argue that those were the two best individual plays of the OTA/minicamp session, and both guys got cut. And the interesting thing is, Trey Fluellen actually posted a video that it appears he recorded off of his phone of internal practice footage in responding to it. And I do want to, I screen recorded it because I thought it was so interesting. I've never seen this angle before. So here it is. That's him. That's his diving play. So even he is like, hey, I made a really good play here, and they're not giving me any credit for it. So here, I'm just going to post this up there, which I just thought was interesting because I've never even seen, I've never seen internal practice footage from the Saints before. I didn't even know what the angles actually looked like.
Maybe that got him in trouble.
No, this was after.
Okay.
This was after he got cut. Right. And I'm sure they don't want players like sharing this stuff or even recording it on their own phones. Like, they have all this. It's odd that he would have recorded. Anyway, like, that's not why he got cut, but you know, it is kind of funny. And, you know, it's a good example of when I say, when we make our practice observations, we are going on very limited information. And a lot of times we're not basing it on the same thing that the teams are basing it on. It's because we're watching it in real time from the sideline and making a split-second note as we're sweating through our shirts and then moving on to the next thing. Whereas the team has clips like that where they can go in slow motion 90 different times and say, oh, did this guy do the right thing? Did this guy do the right thing? Did this guy do the right thing? What was the read here? Should he have thrown this versus that? So that's why I always say, take the analysis from camp and minicamp and OTAs with a grain of salt, because like, that's the first time I saw that play again. But he clearly has seen it 100 times. He's going to replay it to all of his friends and relatives being like, I made this play, then they cut me.
Got to boost his resume, I guess, for any potential teams out there that go, hey, check this out. Maybe we should bring this guy in, take a look-see.
Yeah, and I thought he looked decent. I mean, like, he looked like like, I bet he will land on someone's roster if there's a team with maybe some more space that they just, I don't know. Like, he's an interesting player. But that's it. That's the news. How you feeling? You feeling good about that?
The other thing I would say is the fact we saw Cam Jordan pop up at the Fanatics Expo in New York City.
I've got that. I have a clip, and I'm going to play it, but I'm not going to play it here.
Okay.
We're going to go to a break. First thing I do want to mention, so this is going to be our last episode for 2 weeks. We're taking a bit of a sabbatical, if you will, and it's really just because I'm going on vacation for the 4th of July. Steve is going on vacation for the week after that, and this is the dead time of the year. So I'm not going to rule out doing an emergency pod once I'm back from vacation. If some big news happens, I don't expect it to, but I just want to make sure anyone who's listening understands that we're not just quitting the podcast. We are going to take kind of a planned 2-week break. So, feel free to still hit me up on Twitter, on social media at Jeff_Nowak. You can find Steve at Steve Geller WWL. Glad to chat with y'all. But otherwise, this will be our last episode for a decent bit. And then when we come back, we'll have a lot more kind of preview for camp, because we're going to be very close to the start of camp, and it'll be a good time to really dive in to all of that. But as always, thanks everyone for listening. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, rate, review, wherever you get your podcasts. And we will be right back with the actual episode. Who dat? Stick around. I forgot to hit the stinger the first time, so I just went to commercial again. And Steve, like, I can see your face in the kind of green room, and you kind of looked like when I say a word that sounds like walk to my dog, and he's just like, anyway. And then I forgot to turn off the replay function of the stinger, so it's playing again, and now it's done. So
rocking out.
I'm not even going to cut that. I'm just going to roll with that. We're back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller. You know, this offseason, I've been trying to come up with some new formats, some new topic kind of concepts, so it's not as stale. A lot of shorter episodes, some shorter segments, so that we're not just fleshing out entire topics to fill time that don't really deserve to be talked about for that long, that sort of thing. Like, trying to focus on quality this year as opposed to volume, which was kind of the goal of last year, was to get everything done. So this year, I think our goal should be to kind of come up with some more fun concepts, some fun way to record episodes. And so that's why this episode, we're going to do kind of a lightning fill in the blank. I stole that from Wait, Don't Tell Me unintentionally just in this very moment. It's not called that. I have not come up with a good name for it yet. Maybe that will be one of the questions, is come up with a good name for this segment. But we're just going to roll through a ton of questions here. I'm going to set timers, and I'm going to kind of come up with the length of the timer as I ask the question, and then we're going to go. And once that timer's up, we have to move on. That is the rule. We don't get to go for another 2 to 3 minutes after the timer is up. That's just kind of the fun of it. Steve's not going to see the timer. I'm going to see the timer. So if Steve's going long, I'm going to be like 10 seconds, get out and move on. So that's going to be the plan. So we're going to start on offensive questions, but there's also going to be kind of some generic questions built into both sides of it. So it's not just going to be like, name this player or whatever. And Steve, since you mentioned it, we're going to start with that Cam Jordan clip, and that's going to lead us into our first question. So let's listen to it.
The dumbest rule in the NFL today.
The dumbest rule in the NFL today, Cam?
For the fans, I think it's the excessive celebration. Like, boy, if you don't let them celebrate,
Please.
like, they scored a touchdown, they dragged 3 defenders on their back. Let them. I got a sack off quarterback. Give me 5 seconds. Like, if that put the spotlight on me, I'm gonna hit the levels. I'm gonna hit one of these. In fact, I'm gonna kick him while he's down, and I'm gonna go about my way. But like, let us celebrate. It's okay to taunt. Like, bring back taunting. Let me talk my shit.
Do you know how hard it is to score a touchdown?
Also a defensive touchdown.
So just for context, that was Cam on stage with Jordan Schultz from Fox and Keegan-Michael Key at Fanatics Fest, which is kind of just, it's not because I'm suddenly obsessed with collecting trading cards. It's just a kind of a weird coincidence that happened, I promise. But he's also on stage with Draymond Green, because that clip is from either promoting a podcast that's called something along the lines of, wait, why is Draymond Green talking about football with Jordan Schultz? That's actually the title of it. But yeah, so that's what it is. And so the question's going to be, and I'll say 90 seconds on this first question. And so the question is going to be, what is the dumbest rule in football? Like, currently, what is the dumbest rule that if you could change it today, you would change it? And go.
Man, for me, I really don't like the fact that now you have to declare when you're doing an onside kick. I feel it takes the mystery out of it, definitely. And I don't think we're going to see much of that anymore in the NFL. And I wonder if that's like a goal of them, where they don't want to see this. I'm actually don't know offhand, but how many onside kicks did we actually see last season in the league? And obviously, one of the greatest plays in New Orleans Saints history came in the Super Bowl ambush. It just won't be an ambush anymore since the other team knows it was coming. So I would like to see that peeled back and just go to it being like it used to be. And you don't have to announce that you're making an onside kick.
Yeah, the problem with that is, like, because of the new format, it won't work that way because of where everyone will be lined up. Like, you cannot run an onside kick with the players where they are. But I think the answer is a lot simpler. And it's Cam's wrong. Like, taunting is fine. It's just don't do finger guns, right? That's what it's kind of turned into.
Or you can't do the
dumbest rule by
either.
far. Menacing gestures, whatever.
Right. There you go.
I got 22 seconds, so don't interrupt me. The dumbest rule by far, and it has been that way for some time, and the NFL has not done anything about it. If you fumble at the 1 yard line, you get the ball at the 1 yard line. If you fumble back to the end zone, the other team gets the ball at like the 20 yard line. By far, the dumbest rule in the NFL, makes zero sense, because you could also just say, hey, you fumbled it forward, so you don't get that progress, even if you recover it in the end zone. The penalty of like that 6 inches difference between fumbling it at the 1 and fumbling it through the end zone is massive. And it makes no sense. But that, to me, is the dumbest rule in the NFL. Okay, next question. So we're on offense, right? Do you expect any more splash signings from the Saints on offense? And when I say splash, I mean more so than just, a deal where a guy comes in and there is at least some level of debate as to whether they're going to sign above a minimum veteran contract. That's what I mean by splash. Like, if it's someone who just kind of you grab off the street as like a flyer, even like a Cam Akers, I don't consider that to to be a splash signing. I'm talking about like a Keenan Allen or someone like that. Do you expect any more splash signings? 90 seconds, go.
For me, if it is going to happen, like you mentioned there, it is going to be wide receiver. Keenan Allen seems very likely, has that, relationship in the past with a Kellen Moore, even a Brandon Staley, even though he's on defense, since they were back in the Chargers days. Do I think it's going to happen? Yes, just because the Saints need that bigger type wide receiver, even though coach has kind of dismissed that, and even some of the other wide receivers.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think what you have is what you're going to have right now. And it's because there's so many players that I need to see what they have anyway, right? Like, I don't think you gain from bringing in a guy to supplant a guy, right? Like, I don't think you gain from bringing in another veteran running back just to push down your list of guys where you're hoping just to find anybody, right? Like, I need to know what I have. Like, Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are both not necessarily entering contract seasons. Rashid Shaheed is in a contract season. Chris Olave is in a season where you have to decide whether next year are you going to actually throw a contract at him. So I don't need to push them down. I already have Brandon Cooks. Like, I don't see a wide receiver. The offensive line, I think you're just going to you're setting where you are. Tight end, you have a bunch of names. Like, I think you're done. 15 seconds to rebut. Go.
To me, I feel like you need a little more, like I said, that length at the wide receiver room. We heard Brandon Cook saying you can't really, contested catches, doesn't really care for that term just because you can't contest what you can't catch. I need a little more physicality, a little more length to that wide receiver room. So I'd like to see that happen.
Fair. Keith Williams calls them combative catches, which I appreciate because
I like that, right?
You could be contested by just about anything. Like it could be like an angry bee buzzing around your head. Like that's contested in some fashion. Like you actually got to fight someone for the ball, which is you're combative. You got to combat. You go through combat for the ball. Anyway, okay, good answer. Good time. I'm gonna try something really quick. Hold on. All right, so we're trying something here. In that dissolve, I did just add an extra window to our stream that shows Steve the timer. So he has an idea. It did seem a little unfair that I knew how much time was left and Steve didn't. So we're going to have a couple more questions here, and then we're going to go to a quick break. So this was your idea. Steve, chalk it up. One guaranteed win. What game on the Saints schedule do you look at and say, this is a win? The Saints will not, even in this season of weird, kind of gross situations and whatnot, the Saints will not lose this game. I'm going to give you 1 minute, a little shorter this time. Pick again. Go.
Well, I'm going to go with week 5 of the schedule versus the New York Giants coming to the Caesar Superdome. Noon kickoff, as most of them are this year, but I just feel this team has a heck of a defense that I'd be worried about, but the offense, even with a guy like Malik Neighbors, the run game doesn't really scare me. And I don't know who the heck's going to be the quarterback come week 5. Are we going to see Russell Wilson? Will it be Jameis Winston? Or are we going to have Jackson Dart at the helm for the New York Giants? I just think the Saints in their house should have the G-men's number. Like I mentioned, though, the defense of that New York Giants squad is the only thing that kind of scares me going into the matchup.
Yeah, I that's the only thing about it that it's like that defense could single-handedly tear you apart, especially if the offensive line isn't where you need to go. That's why I'm looking at 1 week later. I'm looking at the Patriots. I don't think they have the weapons. Stefan Diggs was a massive overpay, and I think they're a couple years away. Week 6 against the Patriots is my answer. All right. One more question, then we'll go to a break. Who leads the Saints in touchdown catches this year? 1 minute, go.
You know what? I'm going with a tight end. Juwan Johnson, I think, is going to have that thriving season that I don't know if I call it a breakout year for him. We've seen what he's capable in this offense, just not enough. But I think with Kellen Moore, who loves using his tight ends, is really going to utilize this guy and make him earn that money that they're end up paying him too.
See, I'm not going to, I think what we can agree on is it's not going to be Chris Olave, and that's not me being negative about Chris Olave. It's just, he's not a touchdown guy, right? Like he'll catch some touchdowns, but he's not a guy that I look at as a threat to catch double-digit scores the way, even like a Mike Thomas was never that guy. He never had double-digit touchdowns in his career. But the guy I look at, so it's either Juwan or Shaheed, and I'm going with Shaheed. just because I think the Saints are going to run for a lot of touchdowns this year. I think they're going to get down close. They're going to pound the ball, and he's going to be the guy that scores from 40-plus yards out. So I put him at like 7 touchdowns. I think that takes it. All right, we got through a few questions there. We're going to hit a quick ad break, make sure capitalism never dies, and then come back, finish out this segment and this episode. Stick around. All right, back in on this segment of Inside Black and Gold. We're sticking on the offense. We're doing a lightning round. I'm going to give you a bit longer to talk about this one because I do think that it's a bit more complicated. We're sticking on the receiver question, and I'm going to give you an over-under total combined for Chris Olave and Rashid-Shaheed, 145 catches, 2,100 yards. That's the over-under. 145 catches, 2,100 yards combined. I'm going to give you 2 minutes on this one. Go.
Well, I think that the biggest thing for me is the question of health for both of these guys, but also the question at quarterback, who's going to be throwing in the ball. And I think either guy, if it's going to be Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler, don't have all that experience where of these numbers. So I'm going to provide these numbers for this offense. I like Kellen Moore's, what he's bringing to the team as the new OC. But for me, I'm going under on this one. I'm not confident in things right now that we're going to see that much production year one there.
See, I'm going to split it up. I'm going to kind of cheat because I'm going to go over on catches. Because even so, Chris Olave's best season at this point, 87 catches, 1,123 yards. I'm going to be optimistic and say he's going to play in 15 plus games, right? So I think that's, you're talking 7-8 catches a game, give or take, right? I think he'll have some games with a lot of catches and some games maybe with a few with some like below that mark. But I think he's going to push 100 catches. So the question is, does Rashid catch 40 plus passes? I think he does. I'm going to be on the optimistic side from a health perspective this year. On the yardage side of it, I think I'm going to go slightly under. I think it's like the numbers that make sense to me are like 90 catches, 1,200 yards in that range. Rashid, maybe 50 catches, 850 yards in that range, right? Like it's hard for me to believe that Shaheed gets over 900 yards, which is what he would need to get if Olave only gets 1,200, which would be a great season for him in terms of bounce back, right? So I think like catch-wise, I think you're going to have a lot more catch and run opportunities, so you're going to have shorter gains, but I don't see him getting over there on yards.
Yeah, I think with, like I said, the uncertainty at quarterback also scares me there.
Yeah, no question. That's always going to be a factor. But all right. Next question. I'm assuming that Alvin Kamara makes the roster, which, bold take by me. I know. I'm also assuming that Kendre Miller makes the roster because I think that he's going to be available in camp and it's going to be very easy once you see him out there. Again, I'm being optimistic on the health side. Like that's kind of my theme for this episode is I'm going to be optimistic on the health side. And I think when you see him out there in camp healthy, it will become very apparent that he is a very, very good physical running back. And I don't think, barring injury, he's going to get cut. So with that, just being that said, like we're going under that assumption that the top 2 running backs are Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller. You pick one. Devin Neal, Marcus Yarns, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cam Akers. I'm going to give you 90 seconds and go.
Wait a minute. We're saying that doesn't make the roster?
That does make the roster. One of those 4.
Oh, okay. I'm going with Devin Neal. The rookie Devin Neal, the Kellen Moore's draft pick. I think he's pretty safe considering, that's a guy they drafted. And I know that doesn't mean that it's a guaranteed roster spot.
Actually, I'm going to reset this question.
Okay.
Because I think it becomes too easy if you just pick Devin Neal. So I'm going to give you 90 seconds again. I'm going to reset. Don't worry. I wouldn't do that to you. But pick 2. Devin Neal, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cam Akers, Marcus Yarns. Go.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Cam Akers. I think he's got a good shot of landing this roster just because he's got the experience, someone who's been around since 2020. looking to kind of revive that career in New Orleans. Someone that Kellen Moore is handpicking to bring in here. And I don't know. I just look at his career numbers and overall, guy that's averaged, I think, around 4 yards per carry, something that was lacking with Kendra Miller. He's just under that mark. And I just think that experience, along with, like I said, Kellen Moore handpicking this guy for his offense is something that has me intrigued to see what Cam Akers can do in black and gold and think he makes this team.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with you, Devin. Like, it's a 6th-round pick. Like, I'm not going to say he should miss the roster until until something weird happens, if he gets hurt, something like that. But like, yeah, anytime you pick somebody, he's going to be on your list. And I think you're correct. Like, I think Marcus Yarns is probably at the bottom of that list. But I want to keep one of those veteran guys around if I can. And to me, I go the opposite direction. I go Clyde, right? And there's one specific reason, and it's that Clyde can catch.
Oh yeah.
And if I want something out of that role, it's going to be, hey, if Alvin goes down, if I need someone to replace Alvin, I need someone who can replace that skill set, that I can run routes out of the backfield. Like Cam Akers is kind of, I feel like it's a little redundant with Kendrick. So I'm going to go with Clyde. But I agree with you in the sense that I'm not going young just to go young. If I have a 26-year-old former 1st-round pick or even former 2nd-round pick, like that just makes sense. And so I think it's kind of two battles, right? I think it's Devin Neal needs to prove Marcus Yarns shouldn't be on the roster. And then one of those two guys needs to prove that they are the best veteran option to keep around.
You know what that means? Definitely Yarns is going to be like the camp darling now and wow everybody.
Sure. That doesn't mean he won't get cut. We've seen that before. Camp darling means nothing. Go ask Emmanuel Butler.
Right. Well, he showed he couldn't catch in the preseason.
Well, he had a touchdown in his second preseason game, or no, in his second preseason, because they brought him back. He caught a touchdown from Teddy Bridgewater, and that was when everyone was like, "He's arrived!" And
not so much.
Narrator, he had not arrived. All right, two more questions. Gonna be quick ones. The first one: how many games will Taysom Hill play? I'm gonna give you 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm definitely worried about Taysom going into this year. We know we're not going to see him anytime soon. I do believe he will play, though, because he is that kind of warrior and is going to battle. I'm going to set my expectations high for him, and I'll say we see Taysom Hill play in 6 games for the black and gold this year.
You want to hear my bold take?
Go ahead.
0.
I'm hoping you're wrong for sure on that one, man.
We'll see. I don't know. Until I see him on the field, I am not going to believe that he's going to play. And we'll see. But the track record of 34, 35-year-old NFL players coming off a massive, debilitating knee injury and trying to play physical football on a new one, we'll see. But maybe he comes back. Maybe we'll at some point we'll do a more realistic accounting of this, but right now all I know is I have not seen him do a single football thing since he tore his knee up, and until he does, I'm gonna bet the under. Okay, one more question. We're gonna have some more fun questions as we go. Kellen Moore, hat guy, visor guy, what do you expect? 30 seconds, hit it.
From what we've seen so far, it's definitely been hat guy. I know that the past 2 coaches, Dennis Allen and Sean Payton, were visor guys, but I feel like Kellen's a hat dude, so we're going to see that moving forward.
I think Kellen is a hat dude as well. You know, and Sean was a little 50. I wouldn't say 50-50. It was more like 80-20. Like Sean does wear hats. DA was a pure visor guy. Like I don't know if the top of his head got hot or something. I have never seen DA in a full brimmed hat. So, you know, we're going to go. And I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, man. Like I've never myself been a visor guy at all. I don't like it. I have never understood the allure of the visor. I've always thought it looked weird. I mean, DA put a pen in there. You know, and they could do that with a hat too. You know, it's just a special, unique thing. I don't know if maybe Sean trained DA to be a visor guy, and he just was like, I guess the head coach of the Saints is a visor guy. I even think the last time we saw Kellen at a press conference, I was like, oh, that's a good looking hat. Yeah, and I do think he will wear something. I think that's what we can agree on, is He's not a bald. He's not a bald head. He's not a exposed head guy. He's going to be wearing something, and I think it's going to be a hat. Not going to be a backwards hat. He's not. He's a purist from a football perspective. The hat comes forward. It's going to be bent.
I'm hoping we end up seeing like that big beach hat that everybody usually gets on vacation.
I hope he wears. I'd love to see him wear one of those like hats that Sharif has. You know, with the umbrella on the top.
No.
Or he could wear like the cowboy hat that, or like not like there was a coach that used to wear like the big kind of sun hat. Can't remember. Anyway.
Hey, you know, we need it out there on that practice field. It is nasty when we're outside.
He's the youngest coach in the NFL. When you're the youngest coach in the NFL, you set the trends. You do not let the trends set you. Kellen, this is a challenge. Find a way. Come up with the new thing. Everyone wants to wear a hat or a visor. Find something new. Wear like a bandana.
Oh man, if he comes out in do-rag, it's over.
Okay. I don't think we can hit another question after that. So we're going to hit a break. And we're going to close out this segment, come back and talk more about the defensive side of the ball. This is kind of our lightning round episode of Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller. We're going to keep timing things. We're going to keep doing stupid stuff. And we'll see how it goes. This is a weird time of year. We're just trying to fill time. But you can hit me up at Jeff_Nowak on Twitter. You can hit Steve up at Steve Geller WWL. You can follow the show at Saints_pod. Make sure to rate, subscribe, review, do all that jazz, and stick around because we will be coming right back. And we're back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller, Mike Thomas right over my shoulder there. I've still got a timer. I'm really bad at this. Still got a timer up there because we are continuing our lightning kind of fill in the blank episode. Even though I haven't asked you any fill in the blank questions, if I was going to call it lightning fill in the blank, I should at least give you a fill in the blank option. I don't have any, and I'm not going to come up with them midstream. I also need to find a timer with a bigger number on it because it's this little tiny number. But it's been working so far, so we will continue it. We asked mostly offensive questions in that first segment. This segment, we're going to do mostly defensive questions. I'm Jeff Nowak. He is Steve Geller. Steve, how you feeling? You feeling good?
Yeah, I'm having fun today. This is good. I like this idea.
As opposed to most days.
Yeah.
Where you're
like
sitting there being like, well,
a game show.
All right. So first segment, mostly offense. This segment's going to be on the defensive side of the ball. And so I asked you this question on offense. I'm going to ask you the same question on defense. 90 seconds. Do the Saints make any splash signings on the defensive side of the ball?
Ooh, man. If that's going to happen, I definitely feel it'll be at the corner position, which to me is still kind of questionable. We know we got, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Alontae Taylor, and then a host of other names in there, Rico Payton, Isaac Yiadom. I'm just not sold on the group as a whole, though, right now. So I will say, yes, they do make that signing, and I'll have hope that it ends up being a guy in Asante Samuel Jr., who defensive coordinator Brandon Staley's familiar with.
I'm 100% in agreement. I do think they're going to make one signing, one splash signing. I think there is one more signing of this offseason that we'll see and get excited about. I don't think it's going to be Keenan Allen. I don't think it's going to be on the offensive side of the ball. I think it is going to be Asante Samuel Jr., and it'll come down to what's the interest level around the league. Yeah. Is he going to get – because the Saints, even with a splash label, they're not going to go out and throw a big deal at him. Like, it'll be a prove-it deal just like Chase Young last year. Maybe not in that range of $13 million, but above minimum. But I agree with you. Like, I think, you moved on from Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo. You just don't have the horses there right now. And I do like Alontae as a starter. I do like Kool-Aid as a starter. I think you need to go find someone to play across from them. Just like when you got Jackrabbit. Like, it reminds me of that.
Yeah, and you drafted a young guy, but we haven't seen a single thing from him yet. Quincy Riley.
And I like Quincy Riley. I don't think this is going to be his year, right? Like, right. I think you would gladly bring in a guy on a 1-year deal and say, hey, if Quincy supplants him halfway through the year, or if that guy gets hurt and Quincy starts halfway through the year, fine. I just don't want to have to rely on him week 1. But so we are in agreement there. Next question. So we chalked it up in the first segment. Now we're going to chalk it down, which I don't even know if that makes sense, but that's what I'm going to call it. You picked one sure win. Like, this is a game the Saints win. Now do the opposite. Pick a game that you are 100% certain the Saints will lose. 90 seconds, go.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty easy layup, and I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills matchup, which is week 4?
Yes.
You talk about this Buffalo Bills team, and they're in the conversation for being a Super Bowl favorite with the likes of the Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens out in the AFC. Josh Allen, a stud at quarterback, scared to see what he can do. And thankfully, it is not going to be where it's going to be brutally cold that time of year in Buffalo. But for me, man, Buffalo Bills, I think, roll over the Saints in that one.
Yeah, you could. It has to be that game. And you could argue that, like, circumstantially, it wouldn't even matter. The Saints would probably lose that game. It could be the Saints could be coming off a bye. The Bills could be coming off Thursday Night Football. Like, I don't even care. Like, I think they lose that game. But even the way it sets up is even worse because it's a back-to-back road trip.
Yeah, where
you go out west to Seattle, then come back, and then go up to Buffalo. So those are back-to-back long road trips. Like, you're just getting over your jet lag for the Seattle trip. Then you go up there. But also, like, regardless of which quarterback the Saints have started at that point, by week 4, assuming you don't change quarterbacks, which that would be a nightmare to make your NFL debut, wouldn't it? The Bills by week 4 will have plenty of tape. So, like, you could say, well, one of the benefits of throwing Tyler Shuck in there is over the first couple starts for him, the other team won't have tape to go off of. And whichever quarterback you throw in, the other team won't have tape of the Kellen Moore offense, the Brandon Staley's defense. Like, so you could say the 49ers in week 2, they'll only have 1 week of tape, and that's just enough to get stuff wrong on. By week 4, you have a good picture of what this offense with the new quarterback looks like, what the defense with the new scheme looks like, and you're just firing off. So, like, the Saints won't even have that benefit of the mystery. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of games on here that the Saints, you could argue they'll lose. They're not favored. I think they're favored in one game all year.
The Jets.
But that game, like, even by underdog standards, I just see no universe they go and win it. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a great lightning question round. We just agree on everything. But I think we didn't coordinate beforehand, so that's going to happen. And those are the obvious answers.
Right, so exactly.
Let's continue. And this one, I have a feeling we're going to get different on. This is going to cover both sides of the ball. I'm going to give it 3 minutes because there's a lot to go through. And the question is, which player do you want? You get to pick one player from the Saints roster. Which player do you want with you during the zombie apocalypse? Go.
Ooh, man. See, yeah, you need 3 minutes just because I need time to think about this a little.
There's a lot. But if you don't choose by the end of the timer, then you don't get anyone. You're on your own.
No, I feel you. And I'm definitely going for, I guess I'm going to, my first inkling was to pick a guy like Tyrann Mathieu, just because I feel like he's small, but I feel like he's aggressive. He knows what it takes to survive. Yeah. And
he'll keep your morale.
I'm confident with a guy like Tyrann Mathieu next to me with all kinds of hell going around. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with that pick of Tyrann Mathieu. Plus, he knows the lay of the land great around here, so he's familiar with the turf that we're in.
You went with the leadership quality there, and I appreciate that. Like, he'll keep morale up. He'll be the guy who coordinates. Be like, that's one of the issues during the apocalypse is everyone's on their own. Well, Tyrann's going to make sure you stick together. You got a plan. You're not gonna. It's a smart move. I was thinking more of the Taysom Hill variety.
Okay.
Just because he can do a little bit of everything. But is he too nice? Is he going to try to redeem the zombies? Like, is he going to be like, I just need to find out their motivation. I can't just go out there and just knock them over. So I'm going to I'm not going to go Tyrann. I think I'm going to go quarterback. Right?
Wow.
I think I'm going to quarterback because I want someone who can get some, if he has to throw projectiles, that's that is a skill in the zombie wasteland that I need. So, I'm probably going to go Rattler. I think Rattler's sneaky. I think the reason he didn't get drafted because he's a bully. I think you need a little bit of bully in you during the zombie apocalypse. If he has to take somebody down with a rock, I trust him to do that.
Hopefully he doesn't hold on to the rock too long though.
Yeah. But okay. So quick turn, not zombie apocalypse, kind of just standard Fallout apocalypse. Does your answer change? And that feels a little real right now, but I'm doing it anyway. Does your answer change?
I guess I'll just go with my runner-up that I was going through with the zombie apocalypse. I want a big, intimidating, presence to kind of scare the other folks that might be trying to attack me when all hell breaks loose. So give me Chase Young on my side because I don't think anybody's going to mess with me with that dude around.
Yeah, he's the first one who gets off the bus during the apocalypse. That's yes. He's that type of guy, being like, I'm not messing with him because he scares me. And so, yeah, I was kind of thinking along those lines too. But I think Chase at the end of the day is a big softy, and it's all just like a look. He's like, the big guy in The Princess Bride. Right. Whereas I'm going Colin Saunders because Colin is big, but also mean. I'm going to have to stock up. He might be an issue when it comes to rationing because he's a bigger dude, right? I might have to give him some of my food so that he will in turn support me and defend me. But he's my pick because I don't think anyone like Chase. I feel like you're relying on the intimidation factor, right? Of I'm not going up to that guy. Colin, they might not appreciate the intimidation factor, but if they tried him, they would lose.
Yeah, for the zombies, they're not going to be afraid of anything. They're just out for flesh. So if we're just dealing with humans, that's why, I'd go with basically Chase Young as my bodyguard.
Yeah, and if we could go across the parking lot, I'm taking Zion because, come on. Jonas Valanciunas would be my pick, but he's no longer in the state of Louisiana. He's too far away. I cannot go wherever he's playing currently with Memphis. Nah. Can't do that. I don't think he is in Memphis. I can't remember. But all right. Good talk. Important stuff. One more question, and then we'll get to a break and then close things out. I'm going to give you 2 minutes here. And the question is simple. Who leads the Saints in sacks this year? And at what number? Go.
Well, I'm going to go with Carl Granderson, a guy that I feel like's continued to see development with this Saints squad. You'd want to say someone like a Cam Jordan, but he's sadly in the latter part of his career. I think Brian Brzee is kind of in that 7.5 range, but I think Carl Granderson in this new defense with Brandon Staley can push that close to being 10 sacks this year. And like I said, just an ascending player to me that keeps putting that work in, someone that's easy to root for too.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because Carl had a down year last year in terms of my expectations for him.
Right.
But I do think that there's a chance that he fits this 3-4 scheme in a way that we might not think. And it's because he was able to drop 10 pounds and be at more of his natural playing weight to be in this scheme, right? Because he was playing a little heavier than he's the type of guy that throughout the offseason needs to maintain weight because that's just not where he would normally be. In this scheme, he can be more natural, and I think he's going to look a lot more athletic than he has. So it's a good one. I think that's a sneaky one. I agree. No, Cam Jordan's not the guy. I would love for him to get 4 or 5 sacks, but he's not a guy I'm worried about leading the team. I think it's going to be Brzee, and it's going to be more so because you have so many defensive end options. There's going to be a rotation that I don't think anyone's going to get double digits. That doesn't mean they're not playing well. I just don't think they're going to get up there. And while Brian Brzee has a lower floor, I think that at the end of the day, he's going to end up 8-9. And I think that is going to lead the team. And I think his sack numbers is going to keep going up in this scheme because he's going to be freed up more than ever to rush the passer. We didn't talk about enough how crazy it is for a 3-technique defensive tackle and a 4-3 defense to have 7.5 sacks. That's not normal for that position. Now, in a 3-4, you can get a little more creative and utilize your inside players as pass rushers. But And that's really not even how they were using Brian. He just found a way to get it done. So that's my answer. I'm going Brian Brzee, but nothing crazy. I think the Saints, if they have a successful year, are gonna have like a bunch of guys with like 5, 6, 7 sacks, and Brian Brzee is gonna be up there toward the top.
You maxed out the timer there.
I did. I haven't been very good about stopping right on the dot, but I don't think that's good for the listener. So we'll see. This is a learning process. But all right, quick break. We'll sell you an air conditioner or something to the like, maybe some car insurance. I don't know. Until the apocalypse happens, we will have to continue worrying about capitalism. So with that in mind, this is Inside Black and Gold. Stick around. And we're back on Inside Black and Gold. One more quick segment. We are sticking on the defense. And so I guess my question is, who is CB2? I feel like we've already answered this, but assuming you don't add anyone, if we are wrong and the Saints do not add a splash player, who starts more games this year? Assuming Alontae Taylor is in the slot, and that's starting, right? Kool-Aid McKinstry is your other corner on the outside. Who starts more games, Quincy Riley or Ike Yadam? Going to give you 90 seconds. Go.
I'm going to go with the more experienced guy in Ike Yadam there. We kind of touched on it a little bit where it's kind of a learning season for Quincy, and we really literally haven't seen anything from him yet as he's was coming back from a foot injury. But with Yadam, we know what he's capable of. And the fact that, that veteran experience is going to come in pretty huge right now for a defense that, there's so many questions, and the lack of bodies right now in that are capable in that corner room. I think Ike, you can lean on a whole lot.
Yeah, I think you're right in the sense that I think Ike's just going to be higher on that pecking order. And so like if Kool-Aid misses a game, you're turning to Ike. And like it would, for Quincy to get on the field, it would probably also mean Ike's on the field, right? So that's kind of where I land on it. I do think that there's a scenario where Quincy just plays so well that you want to put him on the field, especially if later in the year things have gone badly. So if you get to like week 10 and the defense just isn't getting the job done, I want to see guys get opportunities, right? Like I don't want to watch, like one of the things about a 12-loss season is it's a lot more palatable if it happens while you see what young players have to offer. And the worst thing I could imagine is the Saints lose 14 games and they do it while also exclusively playing veteran players. That's what drove me nuts last year. Is like, it's a lost season. Play Foskey.
Yeah.
Like, why are you playing Peyton Turner? You're not going to keep him, right? Play Foskey. No, we didn't do that. And there's a level of commitment from some of these guys to the older players that I understand. There's a morale issue if you just stop playing veteran players. But I mean, and that whole staff knew it was out the door anyway. So what incentive did they have to find out what they had in a young player? Like Darren Rizzi, as much as he wanted to get the job, he knew his only chance of getting that job was to win games. He wasn't gaining anything by looking worse while playing younger players. Kellen has job security that guys in his position rarely have. So I would not hate it if he made some decisions like that. If he made some, we're going to have to take some licks in the short term, but we're going to benefit in the long-term moves, especially in year one when it's like you could lose 15 games. You're not getting fired.
Right.
Do it now while you can afford that. Anyway, I know I went a little long on that. What's the point of a timer if I just talk over it? It's whatever. I probably should have made that a longer answer. But all right, couple more. Better rebrand. Tyrann Mathieu or Cam Jordan? 90 seconds, go.
Well, I think that the fresh look for Tyrann, I'm going to go with the buzzed head. Not necessarily a fan of the silvery locks, I guess you could say, of Cam Jordan. I know
Silver's
he was going.
a good word for him. I keep trying to go blonde, but there's nothing blonde about that.
No, right. I know it has to deal with House of Dragons. Never watched the show, not a fan of it, but I think that the buzzed look for Tyrann, definitely makes him look younger and hopefully makes him play younger as well. So give me that buzz cut.
It's House of the Dragon.
Gotcha.
House of Dragons kind of sounds like a Disney Channel original series that is like Paw Patrol, but with dragons.
Or
like
video
Bluey.
game, right?
Bluey. Have you seen Bluey?
I know of it. Haven't seen that
Blue
one.
Healers. But it's like they're just like, Dad, I have to bake a cookie for school. How? And then the dragons get together and bake cookies. Anyway, so the reason I have to go with Tyrann is because Cam just does this. This is Cam's thing. My wife got me this. It's
nice.
She bought it at Dirty Coast. It's just stickers of all of Cam's looks. So like,
I feel like Cam might end up with Tyrann's look eventually.
I can't in good conscience give it to Cam just because, like Alvin Kamara says, it's like he goes through a midlife crisis every year and does something weird, right? So I have to go with Tyrann because, I don't know, maybe Tyrann is more aerodynamic now.
Yeah.
He looks way different. Like Cam still looks like Cam, just with kind of a big hairstyle. But
I wish it was more golden than silvery.
I think it'll look cool when it grows out. That is my take on Cam's look. I hope he doesn't just chop it off because I think it would look pretty cool if he kept growing it out and like the bottom of it had the silver, right? If like he grew it long, the braids long, and then like just like chopped it off so it's just like frosted braid tips, like he just dipped them. Like I have a cat with like little white paws, like she dipped him in paint. It'll look like his hair.
Yeah, he did mention he doesn't want to keep touching it up.
Not touching it up. He's not.
Right.
Okay. I should have had one more defensive question. So instead, I'll keep it kind of basic. 2 minutes. The over-under for the Saints is 5.5. I'm not asking whether you think they're going to win a lot of games this year.
Right.
I am asking if I handed you a $100 bill and said, you can only spend this on one thing, and that is betting the over or the under on the Saints win total at 5.5. And actually, I'm going to take it back. I'm going to say this is a free $100 bill. I'm going to move the Saints win total to 6.5 from what Vegas had. You're getting a free $100, so you can't complain about it. You don't get to complain about this. It's a free $100 bill, but you can only bet it on the over-under. And I'm moving the win total up because we're homers here. And I know you were going to say over, but I'm putting it at 6.5. So the Saints would have to win 7 games for you to cash out. And you have to bet this $100 over-under on my special over-under, which is more accurate. Like 5.5 just feels like a steal. Like I'm betting the over all day. 6.5, different story. Go.
Yeah, you're a dirty dog for that one because I agree with you. The 5.5 seems like a no-brainer to me. And I don't know if that being
they're winning 6 games. I just don't know if they're winning 7.
right. And for that fact, you put it at 6.5. I feel like 7 is if everything goes absolutely right. There's no injuries. So sadly, I'm going to put my money on the under in this one, under 6.5 wins, just because I feel like if like I mentioned, everything goes right for this team, I think 7-8 wins is that max ceiling, and I just don't feel that, in an NFL grind that you're going to have everything go perfect your way.
Yeah, I think they win 6 games. I think that's probably the answer, but I don't know. Like one of the reasons I've had to stop betting sports props is because
and you're buying cards now.
That's kind of where I'm investing that money. Like instead of wasting money on sports bets that I will inevitably, even if I win, chase and lose the winnings, I've said, okay, I'll spend $20 on a card and then I at least have the card. But that's why you see behind me what you see. I firmly am of the belief that like life's too short to bet the under, right? Because betting the under is rooting for bad football, right? Like I would rather be wrong and hope for better than be right about things being worse than they have to be.
See, I just want to make money.
Yeah, right. And it's free money. It's free money. I gave it to you. Now, I'm going to take a cut of those winnings when you get them. But yeah, I'm still taking the over, man. I'm still saying, hey, 7 wins is not that many. And this team can get there. They can get there. Will they? I don't know. But if I am never going to be the person who stares at a 7-10 season and says, you can't have that. There's no way. Because if I was thinking that, then gosh, why even talk about the team? Like, there's no such thing as an NFL team that can't win 7 games. There's an NFL team that didn't win 7 games. There's an NFL team that prevents themselves from winning 7 games. But circumstantially, it can always happen. And all right, one more question. I'll give you 2 minutes. And here it is. Tyrann Mathieu has the ultimate NFL nickname, in my opinion, and it is Honey Badger. Now, he got that in college. It's based off of it's hilariously based off of a video that most people probably don't even remember at this point. It's from the old internet, right?
Right.
And my question is, which current Saints player, not named Tyrann Mathieu, should have a nickname? Give me one, and we can come up with a nickname for the player. But you have to pick the player, and then we will have 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm giving you an extra 30. So you get 30 to pick the player. We get 2 minutes to bang out a nickname. And then we have to dedicate ourselves to making that nickname land. All right. That's the deal. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So I'm going to start the clock. You have to pick a player. And it has to be a player deserving of a nickname. Like, Kool-Aid's kind of excluded because Kool-Aid already has a nickname. If you already have a legit nickname, a Tyrann Mathieu, Kool-Aid McKinstry, you're out of this. You're out of the running. Sorry. But that's just the rules that I made up right now. Okay, go.
For me, it's Alvin Kamara. I don't feel like he has a legitimate nickname, just AK-41. But I don't know where you go with that with him either. But Alvin Kamara would be my guy that needs to have that nickname.
Okay. He did have Boom and Zoom, so that's fair. I guess he doesn't have a nickname. Like I feel like it has to be something like Marcus Colston, like Quiet Storm.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's who he is. See, the problem is AK-41 is a good nickname. Is it a technical nickname? Like, could you refer to him? Like, I could call Tyrann Honey Badger.
Right.
And he would answer to it. I couldn't call Alvin AK-41.
He'd give you like, man, what are you talking about?
Man, this is harder than I thought. I was hoping you were going to say like Brian Brzee or somebody like that. And I was going to say like the Mountain. But have you seen his diamond in his tooth? He's got like a new like veneer diamond.
Who, Alvin or Brian?
Alvin. Yeah, Brian Brzee doesn't have a grill.
I was going to say, wow.
Although Brian Brzee would be, if he had a grill, it would remind me of like Will Ferrell and the other guys. Like, call me Gator. Oh man, I don't know. It's tough. I feel like we have to do a different player because Alvin's too established to like get a nickname now. So, all
right, how about I'm going to hit you with Alontae Taylor.
Ooh, tea time, baby. Let's have an Alontae tea party. That's what I'm going with. Tea time. Got an early tea time this morning for an interception.
Tea time teed off.
That's what I'm going with. I'm going with tea time. And if we want to make fun of him, we can call him Tea Party.
And to me, Shuck seemed too easily to go with.
Shuck, yes, but we have to cut. It would have to be a nickname of like Count Shuckington or Mount Shuckmore.
Right, you can't just say, "Oh, shuck it up." That's not a nickname.
All right, yeah. So I wouldn't say this was the most successful of.
It's not that easy to just come up with nicknames.
No, I probably should have. We'll do this again at some point and have a better framework. But yeah, I'm going with tea time.
I do feel like a guy that I feel like I've heard a few of them for Taysom Hill. I haven't really liked any of like the Mormon Missile doesn't do it for me.
I disagree. The Mormon Missile is a fantastic nickname. Are you kidding? Who? What? That is like one of the best. I wish we had come up with something that was even remotely as good as the Mormon Missile. I'm ashamed that you even said that, Steve.
Sorry. Yeah. I just, for whatever reason, it never hit with me. And I was like, I don't know. Mormon Missile. It doesn't, the Swiss Army knife is definitely more apropos.
Yeah. But the alliteration works, man. Like alliteration sells a nickname.
Yeah. I know that. Right.
A way that like creativity never will. if he was like Canadian and you'd be like the Canadian cannon or like Red Rifle, right? Like there, for whatever reason, like you could come up with the simplest nickname, but as long as it's alliterated, it's money. And so, yeah, P time going with, because that's the thing. Most people don't realize Alontae Taylor's name is pronounced Alontae. Now, everyone says Alontae and he doesn't care, and it's not worth correcting people.
But didn't he say too when he was a rookie that people call him Tay Taylor?
I mean, yes, but if you asked his mother, his name is Alontae. But people say Alontae. And it's just not, it's like Tyrann Mathieu. Like he doesn't spend his whole day crazy. Like someone says Tyrann or even Tyrone. He's just like, whatever, it's my name. Like Ty the Badger guy.
Tea time.
Tea time.
Tay time.
Tea time Taylor. Taylor tea time. Alontae time. Alontae time. Alontae time. Got him. Good. All right. That's the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Tried something different. Let us know what you think. I thought it was kind of fun, but that might be fun. Fun for us might not directly correlate with fun for the listener.
Hey, maybe some of the listeners can sound off in the comments for the for our nickname submission.
Yeah, right. And so that's what I was going to say is in the future, suggestions for this show would probably be better than us coming up with the questions ourselves. And so separate from like a mailbag episode, I think this could be kind of a fun way to do that. If y'all have suggestions for how you want us to do these type of episodes, feel free. I mean, we're not going to do it all the time, but I think it could be a fun way to kind of change things up. Either way, thanks everyone for listening. Again, as I mentioned at the top, we're both going on vacation over the next 2 weeks. So we are going to take 2 weeks off for the pod, bounce back in like the second and a half week of July, maybe third week of July, getting us ready, kind of previewing, ramping into training camp, which is going to start Veterans Report July 22nd. So it'll probably start the day after, like 23rd or 24th. And we will be full go into it from there. But as always, thanks everyone for listening. Enjoy the 4th of July. Don't blow off your hands in fireworks accidents. That's always a bad thing. I'm not saying don't explode fireworks. I'm just saying be at a safe distance when they do explode.
That's another thing. Hot take, I guess, from Steve. I'm not a firework guy. I think you're literally just burning your money.
I mean, I'm not going to tell people that blowing stuff up isn't fun. I think we have decades and decades and decades of physical evidence that explosions are entertaining. So just don't do it in a way that you're never going to be able to forget about it, right? Explosions are fun until they are done in such a way that you cannot tell your life story without referencing an explosion.
I'll let the pros handle it. I'll watch.
Right. Same. I have the same philosophy about frying a turkey.
Oh yeah. I'm scared that I'll end up burning down the neighborhood for sure.
I like me fried turkey. You're never going to see me dropping one of those in a freaking thing unless you want to see my house burn down. But all right. 2 different holidays. We just crossed them there, but that's fine. I'm Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Who dat? Go Saints. Be y'all.
Later, folks.
Peace.